Good evening, somatic warriors. Welcome to Somatic Wisdom and the Ethereal Soul channel, where we are talking about embodiment practices and body-mind connection and the psychology of the body, and sometimes the psychology of illness or ailments. And today we're going to be talking about blood clots. This is going to be a very brief video. This is just, I don't have a lot of information on this case study, but I think it's something to look at. And I do believe, and again, this information is being sourced from Michael J. Lincoln's book, Messages from the Body. It's a very thick, it's like 700 pages, okay? And of course, I'm not going to read everything in his book because that would be a violation of copyright. But as I'm out in the world and talking with folks, it's very interesting for me to do case studies on certain medical conditions. Now, of course, I'm not identifying these folks. I don't have permission from them to talk about them. And I also don't know a lot about their background always. I don't always have information about their childhood or what they do for work or, where they live or any of those things. So I don't have a lot of background information. But so these really are just case studies in general, looking at certain medical conditions. And, it may or may not have value. For you, it may mean something. It may not. And of course, if there is a medical condition that you'd like me to look up, of course, please let me know that, and I can do that. You can email me at etherealsoul2003@gmail.com. I'd happily look up medical conditions for you. You can do that anonymously. If you don't want a video of that medical condition posted, and of course, I would not identify you unless I had permission from you with a signed release form, then, we don't do that. But, if you would like something in depth, we can do a one-on-one, or we can just do the video, I'll happily go through Michael J. Lincoln's book and review that medical condition. Now, sometimes he only has, one or two things to say about a condition, and sometimes it's a little more extensive. So, for this particular one, I really just got a brief little paragraph in here. Blood clots. We're talking about blood clots today. Pulling the world in over their head. Blocking off self-love, capacity to receive. Feeling neglected, abandoned, and or unacceptable due to lack or loss of love in their life. And this is the result of early childhood environment. Very interesting. And of course, there are medical conditions that lead to blood clots, right? Sedentary lifestyle. I knew somebody that was homeless and living in their car for quite some time, and of course there were probably some other things going on. Clearly, if you're homeless and living in your car, you're not eating well. You may not have a lot of activity throughout your day, so you're sedentary. You're eating and sleeping and living in your car. If you're not working and you don't have a job, that means you're probably not able to move and get around and do a whole lot of activity. And so, blood clots can form. And this particular person had a blood clot in their femoral artery, the entire length of the femoral artery in their right leg. I believe it was the right leg. So from the groin all the way down. Blood clots can be deadly. Blood clots are no joke. Definitely not. Most people with blood clots are given blood thinners, and that can be a lifelong treatment plan, I believe, is how they view that. with only very certain medical conditions or surgical procedures requiring the temporary consumption of a blood thinner until that issue is resolved, and then the person resumes medical treatment through blood thinners, medication of some kind for that. And there are probably lots of new medications on the market for blood clots that they use to treat. Heparin is one. There's a couple of others. And it's very interesting now that I'm saying this. I'm thinking of someone that I knew back in junior high, and she had a medical condition that was very rare, actually, and wasn't known in her family. They didn't know that this genetic medical condition existed in their family. I think, like a lot of families, there are sometimes conversations that don't happen around family and race and ancestry. And this is one of those cases where there was much needed information that wasn't shared. And so at about 19, this person had a stroke and went into treatment, was being evaluated, all of the things, and they did some genetic testing, and they discovered a medical condition. And, I wasn't, when we knew each other, we were all in our teens, like mid-teens, early to mid-teens. So I'm not entirely sure what the childhood was like for this person. No idea if they had a lot of love, if they were blocking off self-love in their later years. I just really don't know. I don't really have a lot of information. But I do know that, there was medication needed, and a lot of rehab because of this stroke, and that blood thinners were a regular part of the treatment protocol for this person. So, when we're looking at the body-mind connection, it's important to remember that sometimes there are ancestral genetic DNA explanations for medical conditions, and sometimes there's a psychology around it. Can there be both? I'm going to say more than likely yes. I'm going to say that we may have some type of genetic material, and that there may be some other kind of psychological manifestation for some other reason. But I am always fascinated to see whatever overlap there is between the body and how powerfully the mind can influence the body. And a lot of that has to do with the way that the brain and the body work synchronistically. They really are in a partnership. The mind through the brain, through the body, is very influential. It's very influential to the function of the brain and the body. There's a lot of power there, and a lot of substance and juiciness. There's a lot that can be harvested and yielded when we're talking about the power of the mind, and we probably don't use it. There have been studies that say we only use like 10% of our brain or 15% of our brain or whatever, and that might be true, for cognitive ability or analysis or whatever, but the power of the mind is what's most fascinating to me, and especially talking about it in relation to the body. If we're energy, if we're all just made up of atoms, the door behind me, all of this is just atoms, like none of it's real. Like it's all just bouncing around and forming something that looks like a wall and a door. Quantum physics, right? I'm not really wearing a red shirt. I'm not really in a body. It's all just a bunch of atoms bouncing around that form this physical being. I don't even know how to process that information. So, you know, this is what I found on blood clots. And again, Michael Lincoln has a fairly extensive book. I mean, it's more than 700 pages, so there's a lot of material there. And shockingly, there is a medical condition that is not in there, and I will tell you what that is. It's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Ehlers-Danlos. That is not in the book. Now, I'm thinking that based on what I know of Ehlers-Danlos, and I can find more on like John Hopkins or the Mayo Clinic website about what the actual makeup is of that medical condition, connective tissue, those kinds of things. I could look at it through Michael's book and find some of the, like a connective tissue, muscles, joints, those kinds of things, and pull that together. So that'll take a little bit of research, but I do think that that is something that I would like to do. I'm familiar with 3 people that have this particular condition, and I only know bits and pieces of each. I don't know the complete arc of childhood and life. The one person that I know is quite a bit older. She's maybe a few years. Oh, she might be my age, actually. And when I say older, I meant older than the other 2 people that I know that are quite a bit younger than myself. And so, again, you know, just really recognizing how strongly the body and the mind are connected. And when we're talking about the body and the mind, you know, when we have pain, it can be very difficult to want to be in the body, right? If I had a medical condition like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I might not want to spend a whole lot of time in my body. There might be a lot of pain. There might be a lot of concern and fear around my health. Treatment, longevity, I don't know a lot about that medical condition. But other videos that, you know, I have done in the past, and other things that we've talked about, even for myself and my own chronic pain, just drive me right out of my body. I don't want to be feeling any of that stuff, right? I don't want to know about it. It hurts, it's uncomfortable, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, whatever the list is that's running. And so, you know, being in our body takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. And I'm going to be posting a video here shortly on something that I had to do recently for myself to get back into my body and get grounded, and it involved some art. So thank you for tuning in today, where we're talking about blood clots and the psychology of what blood clots could mean, and certainly look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.